Wow, already a like? I've got some breaking news. I know their plan now. Holy cow, the puzzle is just getting bigger and bigger, and I'm trying to fix this stupid video camera. Just hold on. It might be a little bit of foggy to it. I don't understand that yet, but just hold on. Wait a minute. No? Where's that? No? That one. Okay. Just hold your horses, folks. I've got a hell of a story. It just come out. I'm still investigating on it, but yeah, it needs to come out right now. And y'all, this is big. I don't know if they're showing it on the news or what, but I figured it out. Holy cow. Guys, they're going to show you the plan of what they're going to do. Oh my gosh, where did it go? Okay, there it is. This is big. This is big, folks. I wish everybody would come in for this one. But I guess sometimes wishes don't come true. This is big. This is how they're going to take the Bible out of the United States. They're going to blame the Catholic priests, which is true. Don't get me wrong. Donald Trump's plan is to ruin the Catholic priests, which they just did. And holy cow, I just cannot believe. What is wrong with this stupid camera today? Just hold on, folks. Let's get it right in a minute. Okay. I don't know. Trying to focus everything in. But everything's going to get better. I'm just waiting on y'all to come in. This is big. Y'all ever heard of the obey? Of you need to obey and consume? Well, Donald Trump's been doing the consume part, and the obey has been Obama. Well, this is just in from a news. Christine. I told you I've been doing a lot of work with Christine lately. Thanks for the 2 likes. But this is big. I mean big. Bombshell. This is how they're going to do it. This is how they're going to take down Trump. They're going to, he's pointing out the pedophiles and everything, but Trump is part of it, folks. Y'all don't understand. He's going underground like everybody else is going to go underground. And they're going to let all these contractors come in here and ruin our lives. Seriously, guys. But the thing is, I'm going to let y'all hear it. Okay? That's all I can say. Michael Lawrence. No. This is fake, and this is how they're going to do this, folks. Yes, they're going to bring down the Illuminati and the NWO and everything, but what they're going to do is kill Trump, and then the New World Order is going to take over, and then the plan is going to, the plot is thickening. Sexual child abuse, Catholic priests, cover up. And it's happening, folks. And this is how they're going to take the Bible out of the United States. Enjoy.
Good afternoon. Josh Shapiro.
Oh, yeah, WWE fans, James Storm, Jeff Jarrett, Jim Duggan, and John Morrison is the 4 guys that I created. Enjoy.
To serve as Pennsylvania's Attorney General. And I'm here, finally, to announce the results of a 2-year grand jury investigation into widespread sexual abuse of children within the Catholic Church and the systematic cover-up by senior church officials in Pennsylvania and at the Vatican.
Really?
The investigation involved dozens of dedicated teammates agents, and lawyers of mine in the Office of Attorney General. Their commitment, know-how, and compassion is truly inspiring. Our team was led by three extraordinary prosecutors: Michelle Henry, our first Deputy Attorney General, Executive Deputy Attorney General Jennifer Selber, and of course, Senior Deputy Attorney General Dan Dye. I also want to thank a special unit within the FBI whose assistance was indispensable to our investigation. Over the last several months, an intense legal battle has played out between my office and individuals who have concealed their identities through sealed court filings. These petitioners, and for a time some of the dioceses, sought to prevent the entire report from ever seeing the light of day. In effect, they wanted to cover up the cover-up. They sought to do the same thing that senior church leaders in the diocese we investigated have done for decades: bury the sexual abuse by priests upon children and cover it up forever. Shamefully, these petitioners still don't have the courage to tell the public who they are. Moments ago, an 884-page report issued unanimously by the 40th statewide investigative grand jury, the largest, most comprehensive report into child sexual abuse within the Catholic Church ever produced in the United States, was released. It builds on the Boston Globe's Spotlight report, which identified 229 abuser priests, the 2005 Philadelphia grand jury report into the Archdiocese, which identified over 60 abuser priests, and the 2016 Altoona-Johnstown investigation conducted by the Office of Attorney General, which named at least 50 abuser priests. The report published today, in accordance with the July 27th Pennsylvania Supreme Court order, has some redactions. Let me be very clear. My office is not satisfied with the release of a redacted report. Every redaction represents an incomplete story of abuse that deserves to be told. We have oral argument scheduled in front of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court for September the 26th, and you can be certain that we will fight vigorously to remove every redaction and tell every story of abuse and expose every cover-up. While those redactions represent just a very small fraction of the predator priests named by this grand jury, no story of abuse is any less important than another. Today, Pennsylvanians can learn the extent of sexual abuse in these dioceses. And for the first time, we can begin to understand the systematic cover-up by church leaders that followed. As the members of the grand jury wrote in their report.
Okay, you heard what he said. He said he wants to stop all the churches. Y'all got to understand where I'm coming from here. I've got ex-CIA, ex-NSA telling me what their plan is. Guys, y'all don't understand. It's coming down to a nitty-gritty. What he just said, they're going to stop all of the priests and all of the churches. Remember what I just said now.
We need you to hear this. There have been other reports about child sex abuse within the Catholic Church, but never on this scale. For many of us, those earlier stories happened someplace else. Now we know the truth. It happened everywhere. This lengthy report was written by 23 committed grand jurors based on extensive testimony and documentation. It goes into great detail about widespread sexual abuse and cover-up within the Catholic Church. I respectfully ask for your patience as I walk you through the contents of this report. And while I will endeavor to give a full accounting of the report so that you get a full picture of what transpired in the shadows over decades, nothing I can say in the time we have together today will do full justice to the 2 years of work done by these grand jurors. I ask that you take the time to read the report. This painful body of facts and documents contained in it, which is now posted on the Office of Attorney General web.
Remember, QAnon said, stick with the plan. Watch their plan. Yeah, we're watching the plan, all right. And I'm watching that y'all sheep are following. You're following right into their trap. They're going to put you in a FEMA camp. They're going to rape you. They're going to kill you. And they're going to beat you so hard it's not even funny, because y'all have been wanting help from the government. Well, they're going to give it to you, all right. They're going to give it to you, all right. I promise you, folks, it's going to be worse than Hurricane Katrina, folks. Worse. The ones that got the government phones, you're done. The ones that got the food stamps from the government, you're done. That's all I got to say. That's all I got to say. When you go into that FEMA camp and say, I want some bread, they're going to be like, come on in this room. I'm gonna put you in this little room and to turn the lights on. It's pitch black dark, okay? And it's going to look like a birthday party or something. And what they're going to do is turn that light on, and your eyes are going to be so big, and you're going to say, holy shit. Andrew was right about the FEMA camps. Guillotines lined up is what's going to happen. Lined up on every wall. Over 16,000 guillotines ready to roll to cut your head off. And then you know what they're going to do to your kids? They're going to put them on the ground and rape them. Sell them to prostitution. Just like Jeffrey Epstein did none other than Natalie Holloway. From Mountain Brook. I was wrong with where she was from. But I will be honest with you. When I'm wrong, at least I admit my wrongs. Because all them big news stations, Gary Franchi, BP Earthwatch, Paul Begley, all of them, even Golden State, the Golden State News, all of them haven't been telling you the truth. Do you know why? Because they want you to follow the footsteps, because they're getting paid for it, and they're saying, fuck you. Go back out. Back out. Go back out. Go leave if you don't want to know the truth. I didn't come on here just to show you WWE. I come here to tell you the problem of what's happening with the government. The NWO. Sure, it's funny. WWE just announced that the NWO is returning. Makes you want to say, Don't it? Don't it? Let's keep on. Because I'm really enjoying slapping the NWO in the face. There's a man that rides Harleys. He's a former Navy, Donald Trump. And he looks like Dennis Anderson. He's my stepfather, and he's going to beat your motherfucking ass. You show up here with your stupid boys.
Now I will lay out the following. The unprecedented scope of this investigation. The abuse, diocese by diocese. Charges resulting from this grand jury investigation. The systematic cover-up by church leaders. The weaponization of faith. The failure of law enforcement.
By the way, the weapons he's talking about is the weapons of mass destruction. Nope, they weren't in the Middle East. They're here in the United States, and they're going to take you out with them. And it's called the rod of God, folks. They're making fun of God with a weapon called the rod of God. Do you know why they call it the rod of God? Because it's in the Bible. But the Lamb of God is going to use it on you. And guess what? Your rapture is a bioweapon. You're welcome, Sal. You're welcome, man. I wish y'all would share these videos. Seriously, I'm not getting paid for this. I'm not asking for any money. I'm asking for our freedom and fight for our rights. Fight for your rights, folks. Because I'm telling you right now, every election is fixed by George Soros from Germany. Not from Europe, from Germany. He's from Brussels, folks. So I'm just giving you heads up. Y'all need to share these videos because they're not targeting the gamers. They're targeting none other. Well, by the way, Twitch has been hacking people left and right. I'm not ever going on Twitch ever again. I lost a couple of my emails.
And finally, the recommendations of the grand jury. The grand jury investigated 6 dioceses: Allentown, Harrisburg, Pittsburgh, Greensburg, Erie, and Scranton. Their work built on previous grand jury investigations into the Diocese of Philadelphia and Altoona, Johnstown, and paints a complete picture of abuse and cover-up in every diocese in Pennsylvania. The grand jury investigation began about 2 years ago because we realized during the Altoona, Johnstown investigation that the abuse and cover-up was not just limited to that region, but it was pervasive throughout the entire Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Dozens of witnesses testified before the grand jury, detailing acts of sexual abuse by priests and how senior church officials covered up their criminal conduct, prioritizing their institution over the safety and welfare of these young boys and girls. The grand jury subpoenaed and reviewed 500,000 pages of documents, internal church documents.
Let me ask you this, guys. How many people think that the Democrats and the Republicans, Obama, Bush, Bill Clinton, Clintons, all of them, and the Pope is going to jail? I want to see some hands. I want to see somebody say yes on my comments down below. I want to know. I want to know if you're right or wrong. Because I know the answer. I know the answer, folks. And I promise you this. If you've been following QAnon, that's JFK, Jared Kushner, the Trumps. Remember the plan, folks. Everything's reverse psychology. But seriously, I want to know what you think. None of them will go, thank you, Sal. Thank you. Are you the only one that know that? Out of 5 people? You're right, Sal. They're going to make a big breaking news on the news saying they're all going to Guantanamo Bay. And Guantanamo Bay will not go. All right? Clinton's dead. You know that, right? You do know Hillary Clinton has been dead for a couple of years now. Actually, I think 2015 she died. During on 9/11, on Jesus' birthday. If you did not know, Jesus' birthday is 9/11, not Christmas. Christmas is just a day to get gifts. Okay. Jesus' birthday is 9/11. They killed them people when they locked the doors on the buildings. So just thought you might want to know that when they locked them doors and them people were in it, it was a ritual. And they shot down the airplane just like they did from the Alaska airplane. Okay? By the way, there was no man on the airplane. Nobody. But a robot. They shot that airplane down to try to stop your gaming too, by the way. They're going to put a bill in there saying gaming. They're going to point out gaming. Okay? They're going to point out Grand Theft Auto. I just thought you might want to know that. That is their plan on that situation. Kids, they're trying to prison you too. Okay? Y'all don't deserve it. Y'all don't. I hate it for y'all. I really do. But they're gonna try to stop y'all's games. And They're going to stop your smoking too. All them fires that's happening in the West, they're blaming you. I thought you might want to know that. And here we go. We'll just keep on and let you listen to this because this is kind of. I wished it was great, good ears and everything, but we just know. We know what happened. They. He ordered Jeffrey Epstein's island to be burned on purpose because of evidence. Okay? And the guy that from Subway, Jared, he's about to get out. He actually never went to prison. He's been staying underground. And I think they're what happened is they gave him surgery. He's got a whole new facelift. Don't even look like him no more, guys. I'm just telling you, he's not in prison.
Official records. The abuse scarred every diocese. The cover-up was sophisticated. And all the while, church leadership kept records of the abuse and the cover-up. These documents, from the diocese's own secret archives, formed the backbone of this investigation, corroborating accounts of victims and illustrating the organized cover-up by senior church officials that stretched, in some cases, all the way to the Vatican. The term secret archives is not my term. It is how the church officials themselves referred to the troves of documents sitting in filing cabinets just feet from the bishops' desks. In each diocese, the bishops had the key to the secret archives, which contained both allegations and admissions of the abuse and the cover-up. The grand jury uncovered credible evidence of sexual abuse against 301 predator priests. As shocking as that number is, the grand jury report notes that the jurors didn't automatically name every priest mentioned in the documents and the secret archives. They actually received files on more than 400 priests, but were careful not to name names if the information was too scanty to make a reasonable determination about what had happened. Over 1,000 child victims were identified by our investigation, though the grand jury notes that they believe that number was in the thousands. We should emphasize that while the list of priests is long, we don't think we got them all. We feel certain that many victims never came forward and that the diocese did not create written records every single time they heard something about abuse, the grand jurors wrote. As I detailed...
That's where I think he's lying, because you got to remember, when Obama signed the executive order on HD TVs and cameras, they've been following and watching everything we do. I think a lot of it is a complete lie. Then you just need to go back to Fantasyland, because I don't. I haven't believed in the government in over 10 years now. Actually longer, but I finally woke up 10 years ago is when I started doing my own thing and my own business and everything. I had my own business in landscaping when I was a kid, but it was time to get my own business again, and that's what I've been doing. So I'm just telling you guys, y'all need to get off the grid by next month. This is going to happen very soon. I mean, we got September, October, November, December gun confiscations. And then 22 months, it's going to be martial law. This is when I started figuring it out. Holy crap, we've got this many months. Now I'm getting a lot of evidence, and I really appreciate all of y'all. A lot of y'all are working with me and sending me messages on Messenger and giving me stories. Hey, check this out. Is this legit? You know what? Yes. I appreciate every one of y'all helping me. But we've got to share for our kids' sake. Our kids are going to be the targets, folks. They're showing you the plan right there. Thought you might want to know that. So let's keep on.
Grand jury's findings. I will use graphic language from the report that may make some uncomfortable. But these words are the only way to adequately explain the sexual abuse committed by priests upon children. This is not to be salacious. It is to share the truth. To keep a promise I made to these victims that I would, in their words, talk about to cover it up. You see, church officials routinely and purposefully described the abuse as horseplay and wrestling and inappropriate contact. It was none of those things. It was child sexual abuse, including rape against children. Lost. As the grand jury found, the church showed a complete disdain. The grand jury named 41 priests who sexually abused children. One priest in Erie, Father Chester Goronsky, fondled boys and told them he was doing so to perform a cancer check. In 1987, after complaints were filed against him, Goronsky provided the diocese with a list of 41 possible victims. He confirmed at least 12 children he had performed this cancer check on. He had freely confessed to multiple instances of sexual abuse. Yet from 1987 until 2002, 15 years, Goronsky remained in active ministry and repeatedly was of Allentown. The grand jury named 37 priests who sexually abused children. Please help me. I sexually molested a boy, one priest, Montone. Montone noted the confession in a handwritten confidential memo. Even after the admission by the priest, opportunity to ventilate. And so, Father Lawrence, the admitted child molester, was left in ministry for years by
That's crazy, guys. They're trying to take me out, but I ain't going nowhere. I'm not going nowhere. Oh my gosh. They don't like it. They don't like that I know. And it doesn't matter, because if they don't like what I know, that means I'm telling the truth. I got you, NWO. I'm the stinger, and you're getting scorpion death drops all over the mat.
Sexually abused children. One priest, Father Raymond Lukac, impregnated a 17-year-old girl, forged another pastor's signature on a marriage certificate, then divorced the girl shortly after she gave birth.
Camera again.
Despite having sex with her, fathering a child, and being married and divorced, Father Lukac was allowed to stay in ministry while the diocese sought a benevolent bishop in another state willing to take the predator, hiding him from justice. In the Diocese of Harrisburg, the grand jury named 45 priests who sexually abused children. One priest, Father Joe Pease, sexually assaulted a boy repeatedly when the boy was between 13 and 15. Pease admitted to diocese officials to finding the victim.
Well, speaking of that, the priest actually told Trump what to do. I don't know if y'all knew that. And the priest told Obama what to do. If you don't remember, they met in 2015. And y'all made a big deal out of it. Yeah, y'all are all looking at, y'all look like a bunch of sheep. But told you so. And I told you it was going to come down to the nitty gritty, and I told you what was going on. And nobody wanted to listen. Everybody's like, golly. Now I got people that left me as a friend on Facebook. Now they want to come back because they know I'm telling the truth. You got it. You're coming back. You just better have a city, a state, and a picture, and you're not fake. All right, guys. Jim Duggan is one of the guys I created. Enjoy. Let's keep on going.
Naked upstairs one time in the rectory, but said it was all just horseplay and nothing sexual occurred. At this point, we are at an impasse. Allegations and no admission, the diocese wrote in one of those secret memos, before cycling this predator through church-run treatment and allowing him back into active ministry for 7 more years. In the Diocese of Pittsburgh, a jury named 99 priests who sexually abused children. A group of at least 4 predator priests in Pittsburgh groomed and violently sexually assaulted young boys. One boy was forced to stand on a bed in a rectory, strip naked, and pose as Christ on the cross for the priests.
Wow.
They took photos of their victim, adding them to a collection of child pornography which they produced and shared on church grounds.
That's funny because Jeffrey Epstein and Trump, along with Pope, did that on Jeffrey Epstein's island, St. James Island. You're just telling everything that Trump did because that's your plan. Ain't that right, NWO?
To make it easier to target their victims, the priests gave their favored boys gifts. Gold crosses to wear as necklaces. The crosses were markings of which boys had been groomed for abuse. The grand jury saw one of those gold crosses when one of the victims of the Pittsburgh priests testified. In the Diocese of Scranton, the grand jury named 59 priests who sexually abused children. A diocese priest, Thomas Skotek, raped a young girl, got her pregnant, and then that priest arranged for an abortion. Bishop James Timlin
Wait a minute.
expressed...
Wait a minute. Just like you put on ABC on Chicago Fire, or was it Chicago Fire, or was it some kind of hospital? I don't know. You had a priest with a little girl, and she was pregnant. She was bleeding. Say, I know what you're doing, government. I know what you're doing. I know. 'Cause guess what? Roddy Piper was good friends of mine. They know what the plan is. Come on, stick with the plan, right, QAnon? Right, you dumb bitch.
His feelings in a letter. He wrote, "This is a very difficult time in your life, and I realize how upset you are. I too share your grief. Except the bishop's letter was not for the girl. The bishop wrote that letter to the rapist." Just these few examples of those contained in the report demonstrate starkly similar corrupt and unconscionable abuse. The pattern was abuse, deny, and cover up. The effect not only victimized children, it served a legal purpose that church officials manipulated for their advantage. The longer they covered it up, the less chance law enforcement could prosecute these predators because the statute of limitations would run. As a direct consequence...
Shut up. You're the predator. You're the predator. Y'all are all predators up in Washington, D.C. I mean, that's all y'all talking. It's funny, the Yankees up there talk about us being pedophiles and incest and everything, but it sure is funny that the tables are turning on New York City.
Of the systematic cover-up by senior church officials, almost every instance of child sexual abuse we found, the grand jury issued presentments and we filed charges against a priest in Greensburg and a priest in Erie who sexually assaulted children. In Greensburg, we charged Father John Sweeney with sexually abusing a 7-year-old boy. Sweeney pled guilty earlier this month. He is now an admitted sexual predator. In Erie, we charged Father David Paulson with sexually abusing one boy for 8 years, starting when he was just 8 years old. He actually made the boy go...
Yep. Like it is, you know what I mean? I can't sit there and, it's funny. I mean, it's not really funny, but You know what I mean? That here I am coming along, don't even like the internet, don't even like YouTube, don't like Facebook, don't like Twitter, don't like Instagram, and hear this old man come out of nowhere like John Wayne, got my shotgun ready, and I'm about to shoot every Indian down right now. And that's what I've been doing, shooting them down. The Antifas are the NASCAR online bullies. All right, that one, folks. The bullies on Facebook. See, the funny thing is, I was raised in a family that didn't give up. I'm a earthquake. Yeah, I had a little earthquake in California. See what's going on? You're seeing all the fires in the West. With this happening right here, the fires are going to come up. See how their plan is? Every time something happens to California, here it is, fires. Okay, well, watch. The Midwest will be next. Just giving you heads up. You're going to be charcoal if you don't fight back. That's all I got to say.
But a confession to admit his sins to Paulson himself. The bishop at the time, Doubtman, covered it up.
He almost said Donald Trump knew all this abuse and he covered it up. That's what he should have said.
As a result of the previous grand jury in Altoona, Johnstown, 2 Franciscan friars admitted they endangered the welfare of minors, covering up sexual assaults by a fellow friar. So this grand jury, and the one that preceded it, did not just write reports, they recommended charges where they legally could, and we followed through. We all wish more charges could be filed, but due to the church's manipulation of our weak laws, the cover-up made it impossible to achieve justice for the victims. Church leaders in every one of the 6 dioceses handled complaints of sexual abuse the same way for decades, by covering it up. The grand jurors wrote, all of the victims were brushed aside in every part of the state.
Here, I got a good one. If you're not rich and you're poor, you can't do what they're doing because they think they're special doing what they're doing. They think it's cute. It's going to be so cute that Russia's going to come in and bust your ass. See, Russia's like Tony Stewart, and you're Joey Logano, government, and he's Putin, and he's going to bust your ass.
By church leaders who preferred to protect the abusers and their institutions above all. Priests were raping little boys and girls, and the men of God who were responsible for them not only did nothing, they hid it all for decades. Monsignors, auxiliary bishops, bishops, archbishops, cardinals have mostly been protected. Many, including some named in this report, have been promoted. Father Schlert, identified in the Father Zubik, is now Bishop Zubik. Predator priests were allowed to remain in ministry for 10, 20, even...
Remember this, folks. Christians, priests, like pedophile, like Paul Begley. Remember, folks, he's part of the plan too. BP Earthwatch is part of the plan. And I'll tell you how. Guys, they never got rid of Jared Kushner or any of the people that was doing all this pedophile stuff. Do you realize that? Sessions was even involved with the pedophilia. Just found that out. That's why he told Joe Biden, guys, Jeff Sessions part of the problem too, folks. He's not your hero. I hate to break the news to you. None of them are heroes. They're not. They have set it up to say, okay, if God's real, he needs to show up now. And that's what they're doing. They're provoking God. They're provoking Jesus Christ. And they're going to see if he's really coming. Yeah, he's really coming. He's under the equator about to push Wormwood up again on us. Why do you think all these earthquakes are happening? Because they don't want you to see it. Why do you think they got all these volcanoes to going? Because they don't want the earth to be covered up in smoke and ash and what else there? Oh, that's right. Chemicals that they're using, like the Crimson Tide chemicals. I wasn't being funny when I said Crimson Tide is going to win the national championship with that Batman Joker skit that I did. I did that because I was acting and I was telling you what was coming. Fiction. And that's sad. It is sad. We have a sad world right now wanting to watch nothing but pedophilia, porn, killing, raping, and all that. And screaming and hollering. I'm having to do that because I'm tough love and I care. Now, what do you want me to do? You want me to do it this way? Well, he just, he just, and it's all good. Do you want me to say that, or do you want to know the truth? Look, the people that's trying to stop me, that's on my Facebook, leave. The ones that's on my YouTube channel, leave. If you've not noticed, when you unsubscribe, people are subscribing right back and saying screw you. I've got people left and right subscribing to me tens and tens and tens of times. I don't have to subscribe no more. Kevin Shipp subscribed to me about 90 times. I don't know how to explain it, folks. I got support. And Rachel supported me, and now she's giving me a $1,000 card to get guns this week. I'm going shopping this weekend. I'm getting some more guns, and we're going to try to get some grenades and we got to get a bulletproof vest. We got to get gas masks, because that ash could come into here. When that volcano goes off, you're screwed, folks. You better be ready. You better be surviving and not worrying about football and baseball and NASCAR and none of that. That's the reason I came on here, folks. To tell you that I care and you need to worry about everything else. Don't throw the white flag out. Don't let them win. Balls, and y'all said, yeah, we're going to fight. You better fight, because they're going to put you in a chair, beat you, whip you. You're going to have a slow death. You're going to feel it. Just like they did in Hawaii and Texas. Hurricane Harvey. What's going on? Another hurricane? Another earthquake? Who is it? Alaska. Another earthquake in Alaska. How about that? Wait a minute. I'm getting a message from Dutch Sense. He's back? See what I mean? He's deep state. I try to tell you. Nobody wants to listen to me. Dutch Sense is back, folks. It was all planned to shut your internet off. Y'all working it. I say it's appearing left and right on YouTube and on Facebook. I've noticed. Y'all are not viewing like y'all supposed to be. Do you know why? Because you're obeying and consuming. You're going to let Donald Trump beat you. You're going to let Obama beat you. I'm not. They pissed me. And they killed my grandmother. And they raped. I just found this out. My girl got raped by a cop in Talladega. They drowned her and raped her. So all I got to say is
40 years after church leaders learned of their crimes. In In those years, their lists of victims got longer and longer. There are simply too many examples of the cover-up to share right now. All are documented in that grand jury report. But let me share just two examples that show the lengths to which the Catholic Church would go to cover it up. The first case is an example of a corrupt bishop putting the institution ahead of its flock's well-being and repeatedly lying about it. The Diocese of Erie knew William Presley was sexually abusing at least two minors as early as 1987. Instead of reporting it to police, diocesan officials held meetings with Presley to review the complaints. They noted that he never denied the allegations. Despite that, they concluded Presley's victims were troubled and had psychological problems. The diocese chose to send Presley for evaluation by a doctor and then place him right back in ministry. After the child sex abuse scandal erupted in the Boston Archdiocese in 2002, 3 separate victims notified Bishop Troutman of their abuse at the hands of Presley, which is detailed in the report. Troutman spoke with Presley, who admitted the abuse. Then, 15 years after the Erie Diocese first learned Presley was a predator, the bishop finally revoked Presley's priestly faculties. After Presley's removal, responding to press inquiries about Presley, the diocese issued a comment saying it knew of only one abuse allegation and had, quote, no information to provide on other possible allegations against Presley. The diocese lied. Bishop Troutman had personal knowledge of at least 3 victims who had reported their abuse to him. There was only one entity that Bishop Troutman apparently was honest with: the Vatican. The bishop privately detailed the abuse to Vatican officials in 2003, writing, it, quote, confirms my suspicion that there are even more victims of the sexual abuse and exploitation perpetrated by Presley. The diocese and Troutman were telling the public and the faithful one thing, while they were telling the Vatican an entirely different story. Years later, in 2006, Troutman finally chose to report Presley to law enforcement, falsely telling prosecutors that these allegations only came to light a few years ago. The grand jury found this report to law enforcement was another lie. The truth is, Troutman and the Diocese of Erie intentionally waited out the statute of limitations and curbed their own investigation to avoid finding additional victims. The next case highlights the horrendous abuse perpetrated by one abuser priest on an entire family and a diocese disregard by doing nothing to investigate the abuse for years, despite knowing of credible allegations against the priest. Over a 10-year period, the priest, Gus Giella, sexually abused 5 sisters from the same family.
Wow.
The family of 9 siblings was very involved with the church. Giella met his victims when the girls came to the rectory to help count collections. Giella began sexually abusing one of the sisters, Carolyn, when she was...
Speaking of that, if y'all seen the new commercial of the nun? Yeah, that's really Christian. Told you California is going in the water. Y'all don't understand, folks. It's going underwater if you like it or not. And it's going to happen very, very soon. You just better get the L out.
Just 18 months old. His abuse continued until she was 12. You saw Carolyn earlier in that powerful video. In 1987, a teacher at Dauphin County's Bishop McDevitt High School reported to the principal that Giella was watching a young girl as she used the bathroom. The principal reported it to the diocese, and it was noted in their secret archive, along with information that Giella was engaging in similar conduct with one of the 5 sisters from the same family. A memorandum in the church's secret archive about Giella's abuse concluded the high school principal was instructed to do nothing in the case until the matter had been discussed with the diocesan legal counsel. Over the next 5 years, the diocese took no action to remove Giella from ministry, chose not to inform law enforcement, the family, or parishioners. Instead, they chose to knowingly allow him to continue to sexually abuse these girls. In 1992, the youngest victim of the family told her parents what Giella had been doing, and the family reported the conduct to the diocese and law enforcement. Police served a search warrant on Giella's home and confiscated a young girl's panties, plastic containers with pubic hairs identified by initials, vials of urine, and photos of girls in sexually explicit positions. Giella was arrested in 1992, more than a decade after he started abusing children. Father Giella never faced a jury for his crimes. He died awaiting trial. The mother of the girls abused by Giella testified before the grand
By the way, this is John Morrison, one of the guys that I created. Enjoy.
jury. She said she confronted church officials, Monsignor Overbaugh, when she learned of Giella's years of abusing his daughters. In response, she said the Monsignor told her, "I wondered why you were letting them go to the rectory." The grand jury concluded Giella's tragic abuse of these girls could have been stopped much earlier if the Diocese of Harrisburg had acted on the original complaint. The family of the sisters abused by this predator have never been able to tell their story until today. They were gagged from speaking by a confidentiality agreement insisted on by the diocese in exchange for settling their claims against the church. Instead of helping these girls heal, they paid for their silence. These women no longer need to be silenced. Today, the grand jury finally gives this family of victims their voice. Predators in every diocese weaponized the Catholic faith and used it as a tool of their abuse. Father William Presley gave a boy sedatives to relax him before his abuse, then told him it was okay because he was a priest. Father Edmund Perico told altar boys not to wear any clothing underneath their cassocks because God didn't want clothes on their skin as they served Mass. Father Robert Mausner groomed his middle school students for oral sex by telling them how Mary had to lick Jesus clean after he was born. Father Arthur Long told his young victim as he pressured her to have sex, God wants us to express our love for each other in this way.
Oh my God.
Father Ed Graff told a 7th grader he abused that what they were doing was okay because the priest was an instrument of God. Monsignor Thomas Benestad made a 9-year-old give
The Lamb of God. Get it right, you jackass.
oral sex, then rinsed the boy's mouth out with holy water to purify him. These children, surrounded by adults enabling their abuse, were taught that this abuse was not only normal, but that it was holy. The church was not the only institution that failed children. The grand jury also found several instances where law enforcement let them down. Here's just one example. In the Diocese of Pittsburgh, District Attorney Robert Masters of Beaver County reported to church leadership concerned about an abuse investigation involving one of his priests that, quote, in order to prevent unfavorable publicity, he halted all investigations into incidents involving other young boys. District Attorney Masters actually testified to the grand jury that his reason for failing to investigate and prosecute the sexual abuse case against a priest was that he wanted the diocese's support for his political career. I've described for you only some of the abuse and extensive cover-up, but the findings in this report would be incomplete without discussing how this abuse has affected survivors years after the abuse has ended. Child sexual abuse is traumatizing. In these cases, there is an additional layer of trauma because the abuse came at the hands of their spiritual leaders. Instead of healing, victims were shamed. They were ridiculed. When these children told authority figures of their abuse, their accounts were questioned, and they were hushed and shunned. When a young boy ran into a police station in Scranton after his priest attempted to assault him, he told the grand jury that the on-duty officer said, "I don't want to know anything about this. I just want you to get out of here." When one victim in Allentown told a priest of her abuse, he said to her, "I don't want to hear it. You go to confession and you pray for him." When another victim of the same abuser priest tried to tell another clergyman, that clergyman said, "Don't say the name." For the record, the name is Father Francis Fromholzer. One victim, despite being assaulted by a Monsignor, still felt so strongly about his faith that he himself became a priest. But after feeling that church superiors continued to ignore child sexual abuse, he left his calling. He now advocates for survivors. The impact, especially when kept secret, lasts a lifetime. The time of telling these victims to keep their truth to themselves has ended.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yes, just clap. Yay. Yeah. We got them. Yeah, we really got them. They're going to put them underground with the elites while we look like deer in the headlights and martial law's coming. Yeah, let's clap for them, okay? Let's just say, yeah, congratulations. Y'all got us. Not really. You ain't got shit. You ain't got shit. I promise you it's going to be a bloody fight.
Unlike the Catholic Church and some in law enforcement, we hear you and we believe your truth.
Yeah,
I want to thank many victim support groups, including the Pennsylvania Office of Victim Advocate, for the work they do every single day to support survivors and their assistance throughout this process. Several dozen survivors are here with us today, each with a story of lifelong impact from their abuse.
And you're a big ass actor that's a dumb son of a bitch. If anybody believes in any of that shit, y'all go back in the lake and fucking drown yourself, because I don't fucking believe it. I don't. What's going on? Earthquakes 24/7. Well, you knew that was coming, didn't we? Yeah, I tell you what. Uh-oh. Breaking news. Tropical storm update.
Hello everyone, this is World 2 breaking news. In last 98 hours and 60% chance of formation. I mean, they did not update this at 8 p.m., but they literally updated this about 15 minutes ago. With a special advisory they usually have sometimes. If a system's like organizing pretty quickly and stuff. But indeed, it's expected to become a subtropical depression or subtropical storm or nesto. So, this might be our 5th named storm of the year. Let's just read this, like at least some of it. Satellite imagery indicates that shower and thunderstorm activity has increased with this low pressure system, basically. So, it's about 800 miles southeast of Cape Race, Newfoundland. Has also become very organized. That's something I did notice in tropical tidbits satellite imagery, that it was getting more convection around the center. And there's definitely a center around it. Like, remember the 8 p.m. advisory? There was saying that it was not a well-defined center, but that's completely changed the last 2 or 3 hours. So, it's expected to be conducive for some additional development. So most likely it's going to become a depression, subtropical depression or subtropical storm. I mean, I predicted it was going to be between 35 to 45 mile per hour winds, but most of the models think it will develop. So, and it's not just going to be a below 40 mile per hour system. Most models have 50 mile per hour winds. So, yeah, maybe our next one could be stronger than expected, showing in the models. But anyway, 60%, even though it's medium chance, most likely will develop. At 2 a.m., if it hasn't formed, probably it'll boost it up to a high chance. So, now let's talk about the Pacific Ocean. There's a new depression out there. There was a high chance, it was expected to happen, but you notice the criminal uncertainty just goes north on Sunday. I mean, most models think it would just go south of Hawaii, so maybe the next name in the Pacific would be Lane. So, maybe Lane could pose a threat to Hawaii like Hector did. I mean, certainly it's not going to be as strong as Hector, most likely the models. But the thing that caught me off guard is that the GFS model has 14E, which is probably going to be Hurricane Lane, that it will go north of the islands and then make landfall like in Honolulu or something, I mean, obviously there's that air after 5 days, which most likely it's an air, maybe it will drift southward, like most models think, the intensity models and stuff think, those global models. And here are the wind probabilities. As you see, Hawaii's in there. Hawaii won't get scared yet, maybe the track will change, but as of right now, it looks like it's going to be intensified pretty quickly. 5 days is expected to be 105-mile-per-hour winds, but it could be stronger. I mean, maybe it could become a major hurricane. You never know. I mean, maybe this will be a fourth major hurricane in the Pacific. But everyone, this is my tropical update for today. I'll have another one. Maybe if it develops somehow 2 a.m. Eastern, maybe I'll have an update, but only if it develops. If it has a 70% chance, most likely not. But anyway, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and peace out.
It is Weather Hub. It's about time. I've been waiting on him. I sent him a message saying, have you heard anything? And by gosh, he did. So that is the news on that. Let's see here. Where's the other news? There's got to be other news out there. What is up with people? I mean, do y'all really believe what's going on with this, or is it just me? Okay, breaking news: personal internet security. Edward Snowden speaks with Daniel. My whole team is going to work together tonight. All right, let's do it. Enjoy. These are the real people, folks. These are the people I've been working with for a while now. Enjoy.
There are an abundance of reasons why you might need some guidance for internet security. Here are some possible users that have personal and professional reasons to take extra measures more seriously. Journalists probably face the greatest directed threats. Organized crime, corruption, and governmental brutality are dangerous subjects to cover. You may need to protect yourself and your sources of information, and protect the people around you from attacks stemming from your activities as a journalist, truther, or activist. Bloggers can encounter similar problems. You may want to write about the truth, but invisible governmental and power structure elements may want you silenced, smeared, discredited, or worse. At this time in history, it is a requirement that you take the needed steps in order to protect yourself, your information, your contacts, and the people around you that are not quite as used to being attacked, smeared, or even spoken to about such information. These individuals, once friends, can turn into seemingly enemy combatants, not only on the internet, but in real life, if they are disturbed or their personal reality is questioned or challenged. You might say, Mr. Smiths are everywhere, just waiting to be activated. Activists that may want to improve the government or seek a new one, maybe want to expose environmental issues, labor abuses, fraud, or corruption in society, or maybe expose something at your workplace. However, your government and your employers are not going to be happy about this, no matter how good your evidence is or your argument is in place. They may place additional efforts into monitoring you if they suspect that you're a troublemaker. Public internet users interested in viewing such critical content might want to increase their security while browsing, viewing controversial content, or communicating with others, so that you're better defended against attacks designed to identify you, target you, or the people around you. Maybe you
might be just fed up with all the companies storing your data for financial purposes or suggesting all sort of ads based on information that is collected about you via methods you're not even aware of. You should be aware that the microphone on your computer, cellular smartphone, and Alexia-type AI devices are listening to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, every moment, every word is being recorded and analyzed by various artificial intelligence systems. Learning daily how to better manipulate not only your buying choices, but your political positions, what you see, hear, and even track who your friends are and everything you do and discuss together. Yes, even in private chat. I am a journalist. I am an activist. I am a truth video maker. I was a gang stalking victim. I have been discredited, smeared. I have been arrested, put in jail. My name and image have been smeared. My friends and family were attacked. Computers hacked and crashed. Social, email, and video platform accounts locked and terminated. Thousands of videos just deleted from history. My house was burned down, with me in it.
Yeah, I know.
Yet little did they know that I am a survivor. I was forced to learn how to defend and protect myself and the people that still choose to be around me. I am no longer a victim. I am now an expert at personal internet security. I have decided to offer a series of classes to those who feel they need to better protect themselves from the threats of being active on the internet and what it can bring. I am offering these classes, live streaming classes, for as little as $1 per student, so that everyone and anyone can afford them. Take your privacy back. Take back your personal security. Take back your basic rights to anonymity. Learn how to be a ghost on the internet. Live streaming classes. Sizes are limited, so reserve your seat now. Go to logicbeforeauthority.club and click on Classroom. For more information on the class, dates and times, subject content, and seat reservations. Life is a series of choices that lead you to tomorrow. Make this choice carefully. More than you know is writing on it.
He's right.
Logic before authority.
I've already went to his class, and that's where I've been doing a lot of my work with. Daniel's awesome. That's just one of them. More coming out. Burn Out Northern California was the plan all along. Burned Out Northern California. Fire victim questions directed energy weapons from China and the Rothschilds. Okay, here we go. Enjoy.
Daily, and she has been working as a real estate agent. She is also a property manager, and she has become very concerned what she has been discovering over the past few months. She lost her home in the Fountain Grove area, so this is a very personal thing with her, and she's been speaking to insurance companies. And she's been learning about Agenda 21 on Fast Track. So without further ado, let me join us in welcoming Andrew.
Thank you. Okay, I'll grab my phone right now and turn it on when I need it. It's off now, so okay. All right. Hello. Oh, sure. Excuse me. Okay. Oh, thank you for having me. This is so nice to meet everyone and to be here tonight. I'm the newbie in the room, so I'm getting to know you, and I have to tell you, it's been a road I never would have expected I would ever be on. Just in a million years, never had any idea that I'd be standing here. So I'm really grateful for the work you've been doing. I've been finding out about all the work you've been doing. It's just amazing work. So I'll just get started and jump in here. I found out about the Eagle Forum about a month ago. And it came to me through a website, and someone mentioned something about Agenda 21. And I thought, I've got to contact this person. And she didn't have anything to say. She just said, hey, here's a magazine, or it was a Sentinel, actually. And things went from there, and I ended up talking to Orlean. And I just kind of got, like Orlean said, fast-tracked on a lot of this. As a backdrop, I first heard about Agenda 21 about 10 years ago. And from the few people that I had spoken with about this, or that brought it to my attention, they kind of dropped the subject, and they didn't continue following it, nor did I. I think, I looked it up from time to time, but I didn't see how it was going to be moving forward on a local level. I got it that it was going on globally, and I understood sort of the powers that be, and I come from a worldview, keeping my eye more or less on the end times from a biblical perspective. And one world currency, one world government, one world leader. We kind of know these things are coming. They've been prophesied, and it's all pretty plain to see. But I did not understand what part of these end times I might be experiencing this way. And I had I heard about this at ground zero with my own eyes. I'm up into my eyeballs with this, and I don't really have a choice. I didn't ask for this. But one thing I did have knowledge of was a book by Naomi Klein called The Shock Doctrine, where she talks about the similarities to the Nazis' use of the word homeland and homeland surveillance, and how it had to do with after 9/11, we saw the same term, homeland and homeland security, being implemented in the United States. And there were just some amazing parallels. So, but again, I didn't know how or where to step in and get involved. And then, of course, Deborah and Paul and Orlean, the way that they present it to the community is very user-friendly, and I appreciate that. So I'd also read a book called The Economic Hitman by John Perkins, and I think that's another must-read. I also read in college a book called Night by Elie Wiesel. It's an amazing book. Well, first of all, John Perkins, when he talks about the book, The Economic Hitman, it really makes it clear about these kinds of how we go internationally. Everybody does, all these companies and multinationals and the NGOs. And he really talks about how it's all part of a bigger picture, and all the big players from a very big political and a geopolitical and a financial perspective. And I just didn't, that's been an amazing read, and didn't really know what to do with that information, but I've sort of had my eyes on it, and you can get familiar with the companies that he kind of refers to off and on on the stock market, and I'm still kind of iffy about even when I purchase something, I have to say, am I supporting this? What am I? Anyway, we can go there forever, but that's a long rabbit trail. But another book called Night by Elie Wiesel. He was a concentration camp survivor, and one of the most eerie takeaways from that book was his description of the way that martial law was implemented and how people were let into trains. Oh, it just kind of takes my breath away talking about it. One thing I have seen since the fires is an ever-present police force. I am telling you, I can't count how many times in a given day I see police and sheriff's cars, and I never used to see them before. I'm not usually looking for them, but I'm not even looking for them now, and they're just everywhere. I've never seen this before. And to think that the SMART train is in Coffee Park, where they want to add higher density housing in a walkable, sustainable community, where people will potentially have the train for transportation. That just really concerns me. So that brings us to today, kind of the backdrop, how I kind of got here. A little bit about what I've seen. So briefly about myself, while I'm not working right now as a real estate agent, I've been involved in real estate for most of my working life, doing property management and flipping homes, and most recently involved with some land development. I've been married 30 plus years to an engineering manager of a high-tech manufacturing company. And my husband and I and our college-age son lost our home on August 8th, having about 15 minutes to leave. There was no power, no contact lenses were on. It was pitch dark. The CO2 monitor sirens were sounding off. It was just incredibly loud. Flashlights weren't working properly. There was thick smoke, and there were no fire trucks, none, and no sirens in sight. This was intentional. I smelled smoke at 10 p.m., and I received a Nixle report. And the Nixle report said, multiple fires are reported around Sonoma County. This is a quote. We currently have fires at Marquez Springs and Reebley Road in Santa Rosa. That's 2 miles or so where I live from where I live. Shiloh and Condi in Windsor, and Highway 116 at Fredericks and Sebastopol. Local fire departments are on scene and will notify you if any evacuations are called for. The strong winds are making these fires difficult. Dispatchers are being overwhelmed by 911 calls on reports of smoke smell. Please only call 911 if you see actual unattended flames. All right, so then at 10 o'clock, we have the police 1 o'clock, 1 a.m., we had the police with no sirens, just lights on, not the fire department, telling people door to door that they had to leave. Later we learned that the fire chief and his lieutenant were both off duty that night, and I found that very odd that no backup protocols, apparently, I don't know, were not used or weren't used instead, and that they apparently were out of reach or something. I mean, this just doesn't add up. Now, I can go on and on. I don't want to spend all of our time on the oddities of that night, but you get the picture. There's just more than 1,000 red flags going on here. So from the beginning, there was a total abandonment of the authorities to use the emergency systems. We also had a landline, but with the power out, it didn't work. So immediately I knew that these fires weren't normal, and it had to be I believed it had to be some kind of a military operation, and that's still my belief right now. I started looking up videos of the fires and saw how directed energy weaponry, also called DEW, weaponry, laser is actually what it is. It's DEW microwave technology, and it's very well documented in its patented technologies, and we can look at that and find those very quickly. I've got plenty of YouTubes to talk to you about. But anyway, this is not a harebrained idea. This is expensive, multi-billion-dollar corporate and governmental work here on these technologies. These DEWs, I believe, have been used. Too many fires in 2 locations all at once, all burning as if set on fire at once. Nowhere did I see videos of areas catching on fire and spreading. Though it may have happened, all I knew and saw was literally that everything was on fire at the same time. And that's what the videos show. And I saw that night, and I was befuddled. I was befuddled with these fires just everywhere, all at once, all around us. No warning. It just didn't add up. Let's see, I was here talking about things were spreading fire, and everything was on fire at the same time, including when we fled to Vacaville that night. The entire wall of the eastern hills south of Santa Rosa were all on fire at the same time. And I just don't see how it could have spread that fast, that far, and done that amount of damage in 2 to 4 hours. Plus, 101 was closed northbound at the same time, with the same amount of damages kind of going on everywhere all at once. I believe Paradise Ridge Winery reportedly was completely engulfed in flames around 1 or 1:30. At the same time my home was on fire, yet it's about 1.5 miles west of my home. So how did embers fly that far and that fast and engulf Paradise Ridge Winery, engulf it in flames at the same time my house was just supposedly catching on fire? It just doesn't add up if we're talking this theory of embers and what have you. Anyway, so I never heard of an unannounced hurricane force winds coming from the east in the middle of the night that suddenly started and stopped within 2 to 3 hours. And you can check the weather that night. It's on record. There's a sharp spike, and it's just there when everything came flooding into the area where I was. Maybe I don't know what the weather report or how things moved from the perspective of the fire, how the fire itself moved, but the winds spiked at about, I believe it was around 11 or 12 o'clock, and it spiked for about 2 to 3 hours. You can see it. It just went from 10 to 12, spiked, and then came back down, and about 2 to 3 o'clock it was back down where it was at 10, and then it just precipitously dropped again. It just doesn't add up. And to me, and I've never heard of that. They were hurricane force winds, and there are no investigations today that have determined a cause. Another thing is, where's the debris? If these were hurricane force winds, why is everything everywhere just the streets are pristine? You drive down, there's just ash. Hurricane force winds would blow so many things over. The only thing I've ever seen overturned in this is cars, and they have holes in them. No, that doesn't add up. Cars aren't supposed to. How about a few trees? How about a few garbage cans? There's pictures of houses that are ash, and the garbage can is right next to it, a few feet away, and it's standing there. And this is right after the fire. We have a fountain thing, a little thingy in the front, and it's not big, but why wasn't that knocked over? I had tomato plants. The planters weren't even knocked over in my backyard. Come on. Everything is fried. You've got hurricane force winds, and you're trying to tell me everything in my yard is right where I left it? I can't believe this. This is just not a believable story. So, not that the winds weren't there, but when they were there, I don't know what they were doing, but they sure were not propagating the fire the way that it's being told, in my opinion. So, number one, DEWs. This is patented technology. Lockheed Martin and maybe others, I'm not sure about all of the manufacturers. Rumsfeld and Petraeus are on record in a video saying that they have this technology, and they were testing it. This is back in, I think, 2003. And they hope not to use it. And they go on saying things like, but there may be a need that we can't foresee, and that kind of thing. So this is a chilling video. And then another thing that's very chilling is the video of the Kmart building here in town. Concrete jungle and ash, 100,000 square foot building burned down in 1 hour, everything in it. I'm not a forensics expert, but that doesn't add up. Where in the world did this fire come from? You just cannot convince me that embers flew over and took down 100,000 square feet. I'll never believe that. That's just improbable as heck. And if somebody can disprove that, I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that. So, I just have had all these things with the I believe it's directed energy weaponry, and also there's some talk about the Walmart and FEMA buildings. I think Kmart and other soon-to-be empty, once thriving commercial buildings will become warehouses someday for weaponized humans through more disasters and engineered health crises, whether it's brought on by microwave technology, mandatory flu shots, dams collapsing, created EMP like I believe we had the night of the fires. There were talks about these fires, the power going out before the fires were reported. So they weren't created by the fires. So what took them out? What took the power out? If that's true. Now I don't have the records for that. I've heard, so we can check that out. But that's another question to answer. And by the way, the exact same video footage of the LA fires is going, when you look at these LA fires, it's the same footprint. It's staggering. There are no words to describe this. This is like a war zone, and it looks nothing like something burnt. It looks like something completely incinerated. It looks like a graveyard. And so there's this website I want to direct people to. Is called aplaintruth.info. Excellent resources for some of these ideas here that he just does a very good job, I think. And number two is, why would our government do this to us? Okay, if you're wondering, gee whiz, okay, you're blowing yourselves up, and you're damaging the the environment, etc. Why would people do this? Well, I would recommend people see Deborah's video on USA Inc. And I'm not going to attempt to put it in her words. She can do a much better job, an excellent job. But I'm aware that Agenda 21 has literally commoditized us. And then so there's this book here, and I didn't quite understand if Agenda 21 was real until this gentleman brought this on somewhere, and he said, you can buy this, so I bought it. And it was inexpensive and whatever, and well, it says right here on page, and this is the original kind of the founding version, if you will. This is like the template for the soft treaty that they used, and then it became hard treaty. But and you may know this, you guys are all the Agenda 21 experts, but I'm just still learning this. And what I found out was on page 1 of the intro page, it says from the top page, explaining Agenda 21 is action to be implemented, quote, by governments, development agencies, UN, NGOs, and independent sector groups in every area where human, parentheses, economic, those are their words, economic activity affects the environment. Well, we're human, and that means that they've just called us economic resources. All right, so they are saying that humans are economic activity and that we can be collateralized. So page 2 goes, and you can go on and find more. I'm just giving you a brief, if you read, you just kind of go, wow, there it is. I can give you those and you can follow up on it. Page 2 and 3 go on to say that combating poverty is the main problem for the environment. Poverty and environmental, this is their quote, poverty and environmental degradation are closely interrelated. Global environmental deterioration is an unsustainable pattern of consumption and production, particularly in the industrialized.
Yeah, you're going to get to hear Deborah soon. I promise you, Deborah. I'm just now starting to talk to her too. She knows what's going on, but this lady does too. Holy crap, I got with some good teammates. I'm telling you. Rick Hendrick, you better look back. You better just stand back, because we are going to be the truth.
Countries, which aggravates poverty and imbalances. So, in order to reach environmental sustainability, that's the end of the quote. So, in order to reach environmental sustainability, poverty has to go. And that means humans, especially in the developed countries that, quote, aggravate poverty and imbalances. Wow, that's a pretty huge statement. So several sources, such as the Georgia Guidestones, has as its number 1 tenet, maintain humanity under 500 million people in perpetual balance with nature. So we are subject to nature, how they determine whatever that is. If they think we're harming nature, we got to go. I mean, that's and not to mention the number. I mean, how are you going to get rid of 6.5 billion people? I'm starting to understand how. It's just really, this is like, and for all of you who've been up to speed with this for a while, I gotta tell you, oh man, this will keep you up at night. This is not a fun thing to study. I wish I could go back in time. I'm so grieving for the day when I kind of thought the world was a lot friendlier and that things were much further out, a few generations, or maybe this was just a bad somebody promoting a lot of ideas that weren't well founded, but if you carried them out, perhaps. No, I'm getting it. These are not just well founded, these are being very, very clearly and forcefully exacted. Pardon me? It is an action plan, and they make it very clear, and they are executing to it brilliantly. And I need to get up to speed. So that's man, this is not easy. Whew. So let's see. I believe Santa Rosa is a test case, in part because we have an active resistance here, but also because they have the smart train now. Thanks to the fire, they may have it ready to implement walkable, sustainable community in Coffee Park, which people like Shirley Zane continue to insist that they will push through. And you can read her quotes in the Press Democrat and on and on. I brought some of them too if you want to talk about it. As for Fountain Grove, this allows A21 communities to cover both sides of the freeway. Not that I understand, I'm just guessing at this point. And it made it a handy excuse that the fires burn in the exact same footprint as the Hanley fire in 1964. And it created absolute financial havoc on as many people as possible in the community. Also, if the government is using geoengineered suicide or genocide, then suicide, could they? Please. No, I'm sorry, I don't mean that. I truly don't. I don't want anyone to die. I truly want people to come to Christ, understand the truth, and to know the value of human life, and to be deeply, deeply repentant, because these are evil times. And this is so serious. It's just so horribly difficult. And sometimes I have to make light of it to get through it. Because what we're talking about here is not small. Anyway, if the government is using geoengineered genocide, then they got to test it on us. We're a test case, I believe, with the DEWs of this magnitude. And then they went south. So that's my theory. All right. Insurance. My agent said that foundations have not historically been insured as separate items, as they don't usually burn. However, most, if not all of these and the LA fires have burned to the foundations. So who's going to cover this? This is an additional expense. My insurance broker said that all of the California taxpayers, or not taxpayers, insurance payers will have rates increasing to pay for these losses, and some will not be able to afford insurance. Also, agents are being sued now with people saying that they should have had them insured if they were already in a fire hazard area. So there's more costs ahead. And who was really responsible? And then it's the passing of the buck. Well, the city approved it, but you didn't. We didn't insure. Well, you said it wasn't. We can't account for it, so now we're all in it together. And you know what I'm saying? Yeah. All right. So that's how that went. And I have to say that was tricky, because that was interesting, because for me, when I walk around, and I do a lot of, I sometimes have looked at some of these places, not so much, but just anyway, it doesn't matter. My point is, when I've looked at these areas, I have seen all the foundations ruined. I haven't seen a single foundation that did survive. That's just me. Maybe there is one. I just haven't seen it. Now, I'm not an expert. I don't go around, talking to every structural engineer in town. But just even looking, if you know anything about foundations, you just go, no. And it's pretty easy to figure out. So, the whole issue comes up as this is what can put people over the top. If they had a policy that didn't have the current square footage costs, if you bought your home in 1990 and your home burned and you had a policy on it that covered a $200 per square foot cost on it, and now let's just say building costs are $400, just random, then where's that difference going to come from? Well, maybe you had a policy that can cover some of that, but if your foundation is gone, you're toast. That's the bummer. That's the rub. That's the big surprise here for everybody. So, who would know? Who would think? And another thing, if you want to, oh my gosh, you want to talk about a trippy thing about DEWs and how these fires burn so intensely and so hot and so at the ground. Look up a Paradise Ridge video, you can probably find it, and it's literally showing the ground, the wine that's spilled out of the wherever, and the ground is boiling, and it's just dirt. And it's boiling. It is on fire. How is that possible? And another thing is, if you think about it, how did these foundations burn? If heat rises, how did these so-called embers come in on the top, blow in, boo-boo, and burn down? And have you seen the video of the guy who took the video of the tree that's on fire and it's burning from the inside out? You see, there's so much of this kind of thing. So, foundations. And when you look at those videos, everything is burning on a pad. I don't know if anybody's. I just look at those videos out there, and even the next day, I just went, wait, what? Because everything was just burning so perfectly square, on fire, a square, all perfectly square fire, just square fires. What? No, I'm not getting that. I just don't see that any more than I saw the 911 buildings come down in a straight column. That just defies gravity and everything else. And that's demolition. That's got to be controlled demolition. They just do that with 2- and 3-story buildings, not to mention those big ones. So anyway, if you look at the maps, Maps. I was going to show you. Okay, I brought some supports here. Let me show you, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So now we're into kind of the nitty gritty with these pictures here. I don't know. You might have already seen these. Has everyone seen the simulated reserve corridor system? You all seen this? You're all familiar with this? Okay, and then where human access is denied. Okay, and so this is California, and I didn't do the whole the first one I showed you was the United States, but is everybody familiar with what Santa Rosa and this area looks like? You can look at it and it's online. All this is this isn't proprietary. It's just so. It's pretty shocking when a person starts to look at where we can't go and what's planned. So the question becomes, of course. So thank you. So the red is where there can be. Let me get my glasses on just so I say it right. The red areas are called core reserves and corridors, which are little to no human use. Little to none. Humans cannot go there. The yellow are buffer zones, which are highly regulated use. And then the normal use zones of cooperation, that'd be all the sustainability and Agenda 21 cooperative communities, are in the green. Our area's in a green here, but I don't know all the boundary lines. I'm still not sure. I'd like to get more information on this if anybody has it, because I'd like to know more. And then, of course, there's the international Indian reservations are in the pink and that sort of thing. And there's a big border down here. And I've wondered if that's what we're funding for the wall, which we're calling the wall, which is all passed through NAFTA. Doesn't that make perfect sense? Mm-hmm. Doesn't that make perfect sense?
Yes,
we're
it
paying
does.
for that wall whether we wanted one or not, whether we get one or not. It'll be there one day. They just keep us in. That's the goal. Yeah. Keep us in. That's the tricky. Oh, all right. Now I know the. Okay, I'm gonna be in. There's nobody out. Okay. I just don't think like that. I am too slow. I'm too slow on the uptake. That's why I have to work so hard to catch up. It's like, man, it's like following the butterfly here. Whew. So, right? Oh my gosh.
Okay.
All right. So, is your home in the yellow area where housing will ultimately be prohibited through impossible regulations, such as updating your home to these current building code standards? And I love what you read tonight in the Gazette, I believe you read, or one of it is about the codes. This is what we're hearing. So, can your rural fire or police station be closed due to the lack of funding, making all homes in your area non-conforming and uninsurable? And this gets back to whether or not there will be solvency in these insurance industries. I mean, really, what are they going to do? What happens? Is the state going to take them over if they become insolvent? We don't even know the extent of the damage. I mean, it's just going on and on and on. And then one Valley Fire victim said that 5 of her 35 homes in her area were rebuilt and the rest have walked away. So that was an interesting statistic.
The Valley Fire was 2015.
Yes, in Middletown, and I guess I don't even know the extent of the fire. So toxins, with debris everywhere, with water runoff, could we become a Superfund site? That was the very first question I asked my insurance agent, my broker. Her face went blank, and she had no answer, which is understandable. I don't know how they could have an answer yet. But right now, if you build on the same footprint, not enlarging your pad, you can expedite your permit process. But even so, will there be any new regulations before and while people are rebuilding that will come up that will make our area uninsurable, the area you're building? Then what is your home or lot going to be worth if it's declared uninsurable? Or in these fire zones, there's a huge risk to rebuild. And then there's a glut of vacant lots on the market, driving prices of lots down even further. And what carriers will be able to insure the lots in the future if the industry is taking a hit? Okay, will the feds or the state have to step in? And then debt. So debt is apparently the only way out through these FEMA and SBA loans for a lot of people. It's been that way with the hurricanes. So I've heard that some banks will receive disaster relief funds and then only offer it as a loan, albeit lower rates, to victims to rebuild what insurance doesn't cover. And, you know, you think about that, they're using it more or less as a slush fund. I mean, that's just so cruel to me. If you want to, you know, request, you know, hey, come on, give some disaster assistance to the victims, we'll distribute this. Really? We don't really usually, I've never asked, how is that going to get distributed? Do you call me? Do I call you? And they gave out some, you had to fill out a form and this and that, and the amount that I saw was like $1,000. All right, I don't know if that's going to, I don't know. I don't know what happens to all that money. I would just love to see some accountability in the disaster relief efforts. Love to see that. Yeah, I know. Dream on. Okay, so then I want to show you this video of what Santa Rosa was saying in 2017, and I'll leave you on this because to me is this is where we're at with things. Oh, and then this is a picture. If you would like to come, I won't show right now, but if you'd like to come up later, of just the what I'm talking about. This is just one of any picture you can pull, but it has the Fountain Grove area, and you can just see where, to me, the lines don't come through. Just this doesn't add up. The lines, the path isn't clearly delineated here because this path starts over here. All right, and you say, okay, maybe some fire burn, but then these are toast. And these trees are alive, and it didn't jump across. And these neighbors, I know who these people are, and there's nothing that came over their side. And it certainly didn't come from the green. So and it didn't come from over here. I mean, it just doesn't. Right, you know. So that's one example. And this is a line that they drew for that same area. I just pulled it up, and they've got these red and yellow areas here, which are BLM has put these together. Bureau of Land Management, and it's showing the lines that they're gonna declare as like the orange, the darker orange is a high fire hazard area, and the yellow is a high fire. Very high fire is the orange, and high fire is the lighter color, and then there's I don't know. You have to ask. Okay, they're already redrawing the lines, but I don't know where I fit. I don't know. We'll see, right? So, and then I want to play you this. This is called "How and Why California Fires Were DEW Created." DEW, Directed Energy Weaponry, and this guy. But I'm telling you, hang on just 1 second. Maybe I can find it again. Why isn't that there? I just can't believe it because it showed the whole 3 minutes I was in here watching it. A minute.
Your number, and they're going to get you now.
Yeah. Well, they already did. Okay, and we're past that. We're past that.
There are many other ways.
There are. Oh, of course. That's right.
So give us the summation of what
Yeah.
you said.
So the bottom line of what he said, I'm going to turn my phone off. He says the following. He has a graphic up there, and I can tell you where it is. Go to minute 14. Actually 13 and a half, and so I'll spare you the whole. If you don't have time, you can just go to minute 13 and a half. Why is this not turning off there? And what it is it came from the city of Santa Rosa, and it makes it really clear. This woman is saying that they have these rezoning efforts in place, and these are going to be very difficult for people. It's going to put us out of being able to rebuild, basically, and that these lines mirror the same lines. And what she's talking about, the fact that some of these people are kind of arrogant in thinking that people won't find out about this. I mean, it goes on. It's quite interesting information, and he's got the thing right there to read it word for word. I'm giving you just a sentence or so, but it's an amazing piece of information. So I feel like I've gone on too long, but I appreciate it, and thanks, and God bless all of us.
So she lost her house. August 8th, 2018. What a story. That's all I got to say. What a story. And then, wow, that match is over. Just like that. That's great, right off the bat. We do got more tomorrow. If you want to come back, I'm going to come back around 4 o'clock unless something breaks in. It's 4 o'clock Eastern time. And subscribe to both of my channels, this one and Rest in Peace NWO Real News, and you'll get to know a lot more. We're going to talk to Deborah. We're going to listen to Deborah, and she's just like Kevin Shipp. She tells it like it is. I was wondering if they were married. No, they're not. But it's a pretty cool deal that we got great people around us. But I'm out for tonight. This is my second video. I thought I would come back and surprise you about what the plan was with They Live. And it's happening, folks. They are coming after you. And if you don't fight back, your fault. Y'all have a nice day. I love you all. Be safe. The ones that's been subscribing, liking, and sharing, thank you. And thank you for the likes. I really appreciate it. It tells me that I'm doing my job. Y'all be safe.